Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Talk with TQ and the Energy Stoners Cafe. And as usual, I bring the most interesting people I can find on the planet for you. Well, one of the most interesting people I know on the planet and love is my friend and collaborator, Lucinda Clark. Lucinda Clark is a publisher in the traditional sense, and she's also an artist representative. Sometimes she uses the words agency. I don't know if she's into agency now, but I'm going to ask her some questions. And we're going to talk about one of the hot topics that people are hearing about today, and that is artificial intelligence, AI. Now, please don't be afraid. I am not AI. I'm real. I always raise one arm to say if it's on the right side, and if it's on the other side, I know I might be AI, but that's just me. Anyway, Lucinda, welcome back to Talk with TQ. Look at
Hey,
you.
TQ. How are you? How
I'm
are
doing
you?
great. I'm doing
Good.
really well. I'm so happy.
You look great.
I'm
You
so
look
happy
great.
that it annoys people sometimes. Can't help it. Can't change who you are, no matter what. Anyway, talk to me about a few things. I want first tell the audience about how got into publishing, because a lot of
Okay.
people don't know you that way.
Okay. Publishing. Let's see. I got into publishing about 2002 um, from an experience that I had working with a visual artist. I was going to say, but not you per se. It's just a visual artist that I met down here in Georgia, and she had all of these paintings, and she had all these thoughts behind it. I said, we should make that into a book. And so we added the art, and we added some words, printed it, and I was in publishing.
Yay.
Yeah, so it's 2002, so we're in 2025, so I would make it like 23 years.
Mm.
I am a traditional small press by definition, but it's funny that we're going to be talking about AI because I have found that to stay in this business, and I actually Googled it since we were going to talk about AI, that there's almost 1 million books published every year. So traditional presses publish about, I guess, maybe 500,000 or so. But if you look at globally, it's anywhere from 3 to 4 million books published a year. And so that's a lot of books. That's a
Yeah.
lot of material that's out there in the literary sphere. But there are lots of things that can be done with books now, and that's what I've transitioned into. I used to do a lot of I did translations and publishing mostly, some novels, but mostly translation and poetry. And I love it. I love it. But with all the changes that are coming to the industry, I think 23, 25 years is probably long enough because it's not because it's changed. It's because there are so many, you can do so many things now.
So you decided to, when you met a visual artist, that's when you decided to become a publisher?
Yes, yes. But and that was 23 years ago.
Oh, you say it's like talk as long as you want. Doesn't bother
Yeah.
me. So I was involved with you at some point. You had a series of poetry books, just to sort of give the audience a little bit of your history. You had a series of poetry books that were titled View from the Middle of the Road.
Hey,
And
yes,
how did you come
yes.
up with that title?
I started working with poets more so than, say, novelists. And I said, I'm going to show authors how easy it is to be an author. I wrote a series of poems and I published it. And so in the first edition were poems that I wrote. I wrote regarding my life as a mother and a woman of color and just other things that I was experiencing. And then the series grew where I added you, visual artists, and other poets. And from there, we got to series 5, where I was able to springboard from adding poets to doing short stories and converting those short stories into films. And so I've had a tremendous experience where View from the Middle of the Road 5, every creative that was in that edition, we did a couple of things. We got their work translated. Like I had one poem that was translated into 5 languages. And then I had, it's called Mantra of a Bridge Builder. And then I showcased my son's short story about his parents going off to learn tango after becoming as empty nesters. That became an award-winning short film. There's also a feature script to that. And then I worked with a young woman in Montevideo, Uruguay, and we worked on her story, which was translated into 2 languages, English and Italian. And we did a documentary that was showcased here in Augusta. And so there's another version of it coming out next year, titled Like a Hurricane. And so I've learned from just doing that series, I was able to showcase different poets. I was able to add my own creative voice, poetic voice. And from that, just a plethora of things were able to develop.
Yeah,
So,
your book is in libraries, a few libraries up here in Westchester County.
yes,
I can
thank you,
tell you that,
TQ.
yeah, it is. Well, you're very welcome. And, it's just a wonderful series.
Thank you.
Tell the audience if you want to check out View from the Middle of the Road, Google it. And I imagine it's available on Kindle as well. And you can order
Yes.
the hard copy. And it's a nice book to have. It's a nice book to give.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
that.
I
Yeah.
always say poetry is a good thing to give people. It's
Well, well,
romantic.
well, I mean, we worked together on, I think, the second edition where I showcased your work
Yes, you
and
did.
2 other gentlemen, one from South Carolina. I think the other gentleman was from North Carolina. You helped develop the cover, and it was a great experience. You came down here to Augusta and had a chance to read. And so I
That's
think that
fun.
that was where things springboarded when we started working on the second volume. So
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And it was really a quite an exciting venture for me, and I thank you for that experience. Sometimes I feel I wouldn't be where I am at this moment if it wasn't for that book of poetry. It was the first time I'd been published that way.
Yeah.
But now you're really in a situation, I imagine, being that AI is being used so easily and so readily by people. What do you think about the fact that it seems a lot of people are calling themselves authors and writers, and they're actually having AI write for them? And I know some people personally that use AI to write for them, and they come out with these magnificent poems and stories, but they're not doing it the old-fashioned way. I don't mean by hand, but they're not writing it themselves. What is
Mm.
your feeling about that? Just give me a little commentary on that.
Okay, well, as a publisher, I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in any author who approaches me and says that they use AI to generate their work. But here's the thing, because I've sat in a lot of rooms where publishers from all over the world are discussing it, how to rewrite the contracts. The fact is that in the United States, if you use AI, you cannot copyright that work. Um,
Oh,
Yeah, copyright is basically if you go and look up what it does, it's for human creatives to protect their work and to prevent others from utilizing the work. AI is a entity that is not human. And so if you are using it and you are generating work that is AI based, first of all, no publisher who is in the business of publishing will touch it. If you are an author who does not reveal that you have used AI to generate your work, because I'm not doing it, I can just say you're a fraud because you're presenting something that you did not create. And the publisher, whoever you're presenting that to, they can't copyright it. And you understand that for a publisher to take a manuscript and produce a product, which is a book, they need to be able to copyright it so that they specifically own that which they've created in collaboration with the artist. And so no publisher. I mean, I've sat in rooms where they're trying to work it out, but until the governments or the powers that be who set the laws for these things wrap their heads around it, especially in the United States, it is not anything that a publisher can pay for or profit from.
So there's some ethical, implications.
Oh yeah. Well, like you mentioned, you said that you have people that you know who say that they are using AI.
Hmm.
They're revealing that to you, but if they said, okay, TQ, I want you to publish my work. If you were to take that on with that knowledge, you'll find out very quickly that you can't copyright it, which means that you would be putting a product out into the marketplace that you don't have ownership of. That's
Right.
one of the foundations of the relationship between an author and a publisher. So yeah.
Is there any way that you could spot AI?
It's not up to the publisher or the publisher's editors or the readers to determine whether or not it's generated by AI. If let's just say I were to read a manuscript and it was really good, there's a contract that the author would have to sign. And in that contract, there's a provision that says they are the sole creator or they created it. If they, let's just say they created with not AI, but with their cousin, that provision is in the contract. And so if they don't reveal that they've used AI, then it's fraud. I mean,
Hmm.
as it stands right now. And
Yeah, yeah.
eventually, I mean, that's the other aspect of what's happening in publishing. Um, I think that the authors who say, well, it makes me a better author or it gets me places that I wouldn't have been able to go on my own, they should self-publish. They should just self-publish, and if it's that important, because when you get into a relationship with a publisher, you need to understand the business. You need to understand the publisher is investing in you. They are trusting that what you have written, what you say you are presenting, you have actually written when you sign the contract. That provision that says you are the sole creator, it's true. And
Hmm.
so those are the aspects. I mean, that's where we're at right now. I think that there are some authors, and I've spoken to some who have said that, oh, well, I use AI and it helps me to, line things up and it helps me to do some things better. That's all well and good, but I'm not touching it. I mean, and I don't think a lot of publishers right now who understand they're not producing a product with a human being, they can't copyright that which they produce right now, especially in the United States. I mean, why would you invest money when you can invest in someone who has actually taken the time to write? I mean, even if they use AI to say edit, because editing is different than actually, you know, having chapters written by a machine. So, yeah, we don't have to. And so, in other words, we don't have to be able to tell whether it was generated by AI. The moment of truth is when the contract is signed, they have to reveal it.
Right. Two things. First, I want to say there are ghost writers that write books for celebrities, and
Mhm.
I'm wondering if AI will replace them.
Well, this is what having sat in many rooms because we are a global community now. The literary, I mean, entertainment creatives, we're in a global community, and I think that that which applies here in the United States may not apply in, say, Spain.
Hmm.
They have different rules in the UK. Africa is another continent that is really starting to boom, and so India is another place. And so if an author were to go to, say, an Indian publishing house, maybe they don't care because they're just cranking out product. But I know here in the United States, where all things legal must be in
Hmm.
line. Um,
Legal
yeah,
with
yeah,
quotes
yeah,
around it.
yeah. It's just really important. And if you're an author who's trying to establish a relationship with a publisher, because nowadays in publishing, it's publishers are looking for more than the one hit wonder. They're looking to build relationships and do series. So if there's one project, maybe it can go into more than one thing, like we talked about with View from the Middle of the Road. Because there's just
Yeah.
it's not even competition. The other thing that's happened that's changed the publishing world, and I know you didn't ask me this, but I got to share it, is that all the major distributors have gone out of business.
Oh.
Yeah. Baker and
Simon and
Taylor.
Schuster, is that a
Well,
distributor or a publisher?
they're a publisher, but
Mm,
Baker and Taylor, huge. And so what that there was a there it happened so gradually. They absorbed all the smaller distributors. They basically locked it down, and then they went out of business. And so everybody, people don't realize how books get into bookstores and in libraries and how they get to book fairs and things like that. But that was a major hit. There's been some major changes, and AI is probably, in terms of where the publishing industry is right now, it's probably the least of the publishing industry's concerns right now, because there's just every publisher, even the big five or four, they have editorial people. They have a whole team of people that take care of a manuscript. So when we say book, a book is the end product, but a
mhm.
manuscript is what we're working with. And so there's a lot of
I
moving
have to tell
parts.
you though, as uh, an author, and I find out, and a poet, I've been writing poetry since I'm 14 years old.
Mm,
And when I see people that I know are not particularly creative that way, and they generate these poems that
mhm,
are magnificent, and they tell me AI, there's as a creative, and you're creative as well, there's
mhm,
an inkling of resentment.
mhm,
Like, why are you doing that? Like, why should I even bother to write again? If you, who are not creative, are generating this poem that doesn't really reflect the personality you have, but it
right.
just sounds like so wonderful. It's a ballad to be put to music.
Well, okay. So let me ask you a ballad to be put to music. Now, remember, we went back to the original concept. These people who are using AI,
Hmm.
they don't own it. They don't own what they're creating. So when they share it with you, they're sharing it with you. Once it is revealed, like they can't sell it to anyone who could take it to the next level unless they do
Yeah,
it themselves. And they still have to reveal it. I mean, there's been a couple of songwriters who have actually started generating AI songs and different things like that. I think that for the truly creative, have no fear. Have no fear,
yeah.
because just like anything else, there are people who follow you. There are people who know your
Mm,
work. I mean, if you wanted to, test, a concept with AI, there are people who are following you because you have a following. There are people who love your work because you wrote it. People who are trying to get on the stage because of AI, I'm just going to be honest. They're frauds. They. It's just like taking someone who's in a back room somewhere and say, "Write this for me." They happen to be human, but the important
mm,
thing is that they take that work and they are telling the world, "I did this. I did
yeah.
this," and they're giving credit to the other person, but it's limited in terms of where it can go. What's that
So
here?
it brings plagiarism to a whole new level.
Yeah. Now, because people will be listening to this, word usage is very important when you start talking about AI and the creative. And that's why a lot of people who are in the industry now are wrestling with where is this going? But some of them are like me. I refuse. Like when people send me stuff, there's a there's a process. We don't read everything.
Yeah,
Sometimes we have like an assistant or someone who reads, and there's just a process. There's just like two or three extra steps now that you have to go through. But the main thing is at the moment the contract is signed, they must reveal.
yeah. It's not like the plagiarism checker that they have in colleges. I
Mm,
remember getting my master's degree. A little bit when I was older. I got my master's way after my bachelor's, but I remember that there was and as a professor, I run papers through a plagiarism checker.
Yes. Yeah.
And so often, too often, not a lot, I have to say the students I had were pretty genuine, but every now and then there was a student that would just plagiarize. Do you think it's going to get worse? Do you think
Well,
that something will happen where it'll actually be acceptable? Because if it's your idea and then you have AI flesh it out, which was what the person I know that used AI to write some poetry, it was
mhm.
her idea and she put her idea down, and then AI fleshed out this beautiful, magnificent thing.
You mentioned a couple of things here I'd like to address. The first thing, it's not just in academia that they're using, they're doing this whole checking against plagiarism. I judged a spooky story contest this past fall. Little kids, I think it was like grades 3 to 8.
Oh, how cute.
And they actually had attached for the judges, if you feel that this might be, artificial intelligence has been used, there was a checker. There was a thing that we could run the story through. And so, even to get back to your original question, sometimes you can tell when someone is using AI, especially if they don't go back and edit it. You could just
Mm.
tell that there's some inconsistencies in the order in which the story evolves. There's just certain red flags that jump out at you, but that's already in play where even if you don't feel like you just want to run every story or run everything that you've received by a checker, it is available. It is available.
And you
So
feel
yeah.
that it's important to do.
Oh yeah. Oh, especially when you're dealing with people who are writing to get credentials, or if they're writing because there's prize money, of course.
Yeah. Oh, that.
And yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's all that part's already in play,
Hmm.
and so I think that unlike publishing, where we don't have to run it like that, we because at the end of the day, there's still the contract, you know.
The contract, the
Yeah, and
contract.
so if you're dealing with a dishonest person, it eventually comes out in the
Yeah,
wash.
yeah. I find it unsettling, the whole idea. I'm not afraid of AI.
Hmm.
I think that we've always kind of used AI in some kind of form, but I find it unsettling to know people that are writing things and calling it their own, and they think it's perfectly okay. But
Yeah.
you are an intellectual property attorney by vocation,
Well, I
and
studied it. I don't practice
you
for
don't
this.
practice
You
it.
always say, yeah,
Okay, I'll backpedal.
except when necessary.
Except when necessary. It's a good thing to have under your belt to know some stuff about that. And I have to say that about 4 or 5 years ago, I took a course with volunteer lawyers for the arts on AI, and I had more questions that I never got answered about
Mm,
it. And they talked about who actually owns the property, but it remained a question. It
mhm.
remained a question. That question was never answered as to who owns that intellectual property. You've
Well, I can
answered
tell
it.
you. Yeah, I can tell you that, and actually, you can even you can Google it, or you can just look it up in like in your industry. You're a visual artist as well,
Yes.
so I
Hmm.
know I know that in the visual arts, and even before AI became a thing, because it's what I've learned is that AI has been around for a very, very long time. They are now monetizing the use of it. It started with the whole chat GTP thing, and I think that how you see AI depends on what industry you're in, and well, what industry you're in. We'll just leave it as that. And I think that there's nothing to be afraid of, but it does call into question the integrity of a creative.
Yeah.
How desperate are you to be, famous or whatever? I think that creatives who have natural ability should not be afraid, except when you put your stuff through Amazon. Now, I was going to say quickly turn me off, TQ. Hold me back because I have a whole thing about Amazon, and there's some things that are happening right now, because a lot of authors have decided to become self-published, and how when you sign that contract, you literally give certain entities the, if you just sign,
Mhm.
click and sign, you read the terms and everything, you are giving them permission to use your work to train AI. And
Right.
so you have to be vigilant now. And that's another part of publishing. You have to be vigilant now because we are global. We are global entities. So your work, you could create something there in peak scale, and unbeknownst to you, it's live and kicking it in Barcelona, Spain. And so, it's a thing where
I know about that. I know about
yeah.
that stuff.
That's
I know
why
about
I
it
mentioned. And
firsthand.
so
It's like, what?
and
Russia? What are they
yeah.
looking at working at my in Russia?
And
But
so
listen,
that,
listen,
yeah.
Lucinda, we have to have a
Yeah.
second interview. I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
decided, I didn't ask my director yet, but I'm going to ask him
Yeah.
after to schedule this again because this conversation fascinates me beyond belief. And
Yeah.
I hate to end it because I
Yeah.
want to keep talking about it. I
Yeah.
think it's very important.
Yeah.
I know it's extremely important,
Yeah.
especially to creatives that have
Yeah.
no clue about a lot of business matters. And I don't know how they feel about AI, but I always post things on LinkedIn, and I remember posting something about while you were sleeping on LinkedIn, and it was about how the copyright process had changed so much, which
Yeah.
you gave me a heads up on that. But will
Yeah.
you come back and talk to me again,
Yeah.
please?
Yeah. I mean, when I looked at your questions, I was like, this is better. There's another person that needs to be in the conversation when you do this.
Mm-hmm.
If you can find someone like that person who wrote that poem,
Oh,
that person, well, structured, keep us structured with questions, but
yeah,
because there, like I said, the way you see the world is based on what industry you're in, how desperate you are to make money or whatever. So,
yeah. Oh,
yeah,
I think a lot of times it's just desperate to get recognition for anything. But
exactly.
on that note, we are
Hmm.
going to continue this conversation. I'm going to leave the audience on a cliffhanger because there's more to discuss about this. And if any
Yes.
creatives are watching, you know, I don't want to say beware,
Yeah.
but I'll say beware. You know,
Beware.
don't think it's as simple as just filing a copyright because that's not so easy anymore either.
Yeah.
But we'll talk again. Thanks, Lucinda.
Oh,
This
you're
went a lot
welcome.
longer than I thought it would. This
Okay.
discussion. That's why I got to do another one. We got to do it again.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but I can tell that you're concerned, but we've known each other a long time, and
Yeah.
plagiarism, and
Mhm.
there's all kinds of things that come into play, but AI is just one more way that people can get in the marketplace. You
Yeah.
just, all
Thank you
right.
so much, Lucinda. This was the best.
Yeah.
I'm just like all like filled up inside because I'm just
Okay.
like excited about the fact that you talked to me about this. And I'll say to the audience, thanks for coming to another episode of Talk with TQ and the Energy Stoners Cafe. And as always, I promise I will bring to you the most interesting people I can find on the planet. Bye bye.